Moderator of the panel discussion, our own Dr. M.V. Rajesh, who is the Vice Chairman of IEEE Kochi subsection. Dr. Rajesh is an Associate Professor in the Department of Electronics Engineering at Model Engineering College, Tikakara, and he is an active member of IEEE Kochi subsection and is member of a number of organizing committees of conferences of repute. He is also currently the chairman of IEEE Signal Processing Society Kerala section. Over to you, sir. I think Dr. Michael is also welcome to join this panel discussion. That is what I have a headline from Rajesh sir. So it would be a very useful session if you are able to join this session. So Rajesh sir, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Tripti and Dr. Santosh. Thanks a lot for Michael also for joining and making this truly international, as well as he's the right person to talk about conference quality and management as the chair of that committee. We are therefore moving into the last section of this 3 days POCO workshop. Our sincere thanks to R10 for supporting IEEE Kochi subsection for doing this program. This year, this is the only subsection who has got financial assistance from R10 or from the entire IEEE fraternity, I think, to host this quality workshop. Now, the last but not the least program that we are having is a very active panel discussion on various aspects of organizing a conference. Unfortunately, we have got consent from 4 eminent panelists across the country who have got a very good experience in organizing standard IEEE and other conferences. And all of them will be talking about various aspects of this. Along with all of them, I hope Mr. Michael could also join for the last question answer and open forum. That's a plan. So initially, I will try to introduce very short introduction on all the panelists, and after that, each of the panelists will be spending in sharing their experience for around 5 minutes or so. After that cycle of their explanations, we had received a couple of questions previously from the registered participants. Those questions will be discussed. Some of them are highly focused to individual panelists, and some are general questions where I think Dr. Michael and any of the panelists or other experts sitting in this conference can probably address and discuss, because it is basically a deliberation of various aspects and various points. And immediately after that, we will even spend some time to invite on the spot questions which can arise after listening to the presentations or discussions of all the panelists. And with that, I hope we will be having a very fruitful conclusion of the panel discussion. Therefore, let me first try to introduce to you each and every panelist that have consented and joined in time with IEEE Kochi subsection. As the first member of the panel, we have Dr. John Jose, who is an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at the Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, Assam. He's working there since 2015, 2015 onwards. Just before joining IIT, he was a faculty member who was a class associate of all of us. He worked with Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology, and also with Vishwajyoti College of Engineering in Muvadupuzha. And he completed his PhD also from Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, IIT Chennai. And he's a rank holder in his PG studies at VIT. Probably during from the Rajagiri period onwards, we have close association with Professor John in organizing IEEE conferences with Rajagiri as the venue and at many locations in the country as well. And he is a proud product of the Cochin University of Science and Technology as well. For his undergraduate program, he was with the College of Engineering, Adur. So we are proud of that. And in addition to the academic responsibilities, he's actively contributing to Government of India projects, various number of Government of India projects, including NPTEL, MOOCs, Technical Education Quality Improvement Program, and he himself has rolled out many very popular NPTEL online certification courses in the capacity of professor at IIT, and also many government programs, including Vigyan Jyoti and Ishan Vikas program he is coordinating in IIT. These are all programs of the Ministry of Human Resources Development, Government of India. So with this vast academic and other organizational capacities, he is a reviewer as well as organizer of many conferences. So these are the short presentation of his experience in this field. With this, I would like to welcome Dr. John Jose on behalf of the IEEE Kerala section and IEEE Kochi subsection to this POCO workshop. Grand welcome, Dr. John.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh.
Thank you. So we have Dr. Rakesh GK, again a class associate of IEEE Kochi subsection as the second panelist. He is an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at IIT Kottayam. He has just joined IIT, I understand, during the last month only. Prior to that, we have very close associations with Dr. Rakesh Vaidya when he was a faculty member at the Adi Shankara Institute of Engineering and Technology. Yesterday, I have attended a conference there. He was the organizing chair, and in between, he has got the new assignment and joined IIT. That's what I understand. And he is also a very active researcher as well as organizer of various conferences. And he has secured his PhD from the Anna University, Chennai, and he is a man of patents. That's what I understand about Dr. Vaidya. He has 9 patents in his credit on engineering and technology, and also he is much good in funding options, especially from government. That is what I understand. He has already completed around 1.5 crore rupees worth projects with Government of India, and another 2 crore projects are there in pipeline. So that's a general research and organizational capacity of Dr. Rakesh. So we have very long association with him when he was in and around Kochi as well as now in Kottayam. I would like to welcome Dr. Rakesh on behalf of all assembled here to this POCO workshop. Welcome, Dr. Rakesh.
Yeah, thank you, Rajesh, sir, for this great opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we have Dr. Varun G. Menon as the third member of the panelists. He is part of our executive committee of IEEE Kochi subsection, and he's a very young and vibrant professor who has immensely contributing to both academy and research. Before going to his academic credentials on computer science and engineering, I am surprised to see that he got 3 PG degrees. Not only one in computer science, of course, one in management and in psychology also. So he's a very dangerous professor. So that shows his passion for learning and organizing research. And he is, I won't read the entire list because that will take much of my time. He is the reviewer and editor and associate editor of more than 7 IEEE and elsewhere journals. So we are very proud of Dr. Varun in that aspect because it's a rare achievement. And we couldn't see such a very vibrant kind of a person in our executive committee before. So I would like to personally congratulate and feel proud of that. And of course, he is part of organizing so many conferences, not only in the country, but also across the globe in the IEEE and as a distinguished fellow of the ACM, etc. So he is a very promising faculty and researcher in IEEE Kochi subsection. Warm welcome, Dr. Varun Menon, to this POCO workshop as a panelist.
Thank you so much, sir, for this kind welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, we have the fourth member, Professor Binu Ayyappan, who is an assistant professor at the Rajagiri College of Engineering and Technology. He's also a member of our executive committee, another, and I think the youngest executive committee member in this executive committee of IEEE Kochi subsection. He is also a very vibrant researcher and who is now doing his PhD under the supervision of Dr. Santosh in the Cochin University of Science and Technology. In addition to academic contributions, we are happy to see that he is a recognized subject expert in the field of computerization in many government organizations, including CBSE, in the Central of Excellence for National Level Faculty Improvement Program. Then he is a consultant to many of the government organizations on cybersecurity and other aspects, especially to the Kochi City Police, then Government of India, and Nehru Yuva Kendra, and also he is part of consultancy. He has contributions in many of the consultancy projects of the Kerala High Court and Kerala Public Service Commission, and many government organizations, including Devaso boards and all, because all of them require computer assistance, and he's an expert with high responsibility, because all these, including police and high court, means a lot of responsibilities are about him. So I'm happy to welcome Dr. Binu Ayyappan also as a panel member of this POCO workshop. Warm welcome, Binu.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I couldn't see you there, but okay, now it's visible. So this is the very strong and very enthusiastic background of our panel members. With this, I think we will move on for the discussion without wasting any minute of time. We may start this panel discussion with the opening remarks from Dr. John Jose from IIT. Dr. John will be generally covering his experience on a general overview of conference organization, event management, application for the technical association, because conferences always need networking, and application for proceeding publications, etc. These are the general topics we have requested Dr. Jones to start with. Dr. John, can you please open up the discussion on these topics?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rajesh. I hope I am audible.
Yes, you are.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So on the outset, thank you for the organizers for inviting me to this panel of very exciting program, wherein conferences are of high value, especially in the computer science and electronics field, even for recruitment to higher institutions, especially in these two branches or closely associated branches like computer science and electronics. Conference publications, good conference publications are also considered equivalent to tier 1 journals. So in this context, I would like to tell that every conferences like what I was part of, even during my tenure at Rajagiri along with my friend Binu, all good conferences need to start well ahead. At least my point of view, what Dr. Michael Ong has already mentioned, start at least 1 year before, but before 8 months, you should have a clear plan of at least the core members who are going to be part of the team and when is going to be the date. So my beginning, I will tell that at least from 1 year time to 8 months time, we should have a clear idea of when are we going to have. Second one is like with respect to the publisher, which I'll come to later. Where are we going to publish the proceedings? That is one thing. And the formation of the core committee, which includes the general chair of the conference. Second one is the technical program committee, the TPC chairs, the organizing chairs, and the publication chairs. So people do publish in conferences because ultimately they want their work to come in the proceedings. So if it is a sponsored conference by professional societies, that will have its own value. And the TPC really matters. Like when you submit to journals, we sometimes look into who is the editorial board members. Similarly, for conferences also, to add value, we should have TPC members, good TPC chairs who can manage things. What I have seen across years, like when it comes to the tier 2 level conferences, those conferences which are having a local presence, not much of international participants, General chairs and the technical program chairs are generally given an ornamental names. They will try to pull in people from reputed institutes just for keeping the sake of it, and then somebody in the local has to manage things around even at the last moment. I generally feel that that will not actually help us. So among our community also, we will be having a good set of people who have academic credibility. Only thing is we have to contact them early that this is the time window we want to expertise to use. And from my experience, I'm telling there are two aspects for the conference. One is the organizational aspect. Second one is the quality program development aspect. So the general chair of the conference should take care of all the organizational aspect. Where is going to be the venue? How are we going to manage all other things along with the organizing chairs? And it is a technical program committee chair. They will take a call of what is going to be, what are going to be the tracks, the theme of the conference, who will be leading each of the tracks, and what is going to be the submission portal. Are we going to use any paid tools like EDAS, or we are going to use freewares like EasyChair? So there are plenty of portals available. So identification of technical program committee and the core members is something that we have to plan. Second aspect is what is going to be the structure of the conference. So along some of the conferences will have tutorials or workshop that is going parallelly along with this. Do we have any demonstration, project exhibitions for upcoming students to showcase them? Do we have any industry forum? And especially the women in engineering is also getting so much prominence. So whether do we have a WIE forum? We have exhibits, we have sponsors or any other parallel student events, startup events like that. So the structure should be clearly ready. These things all should be planned at least before 6 months. How many days we are planning, how many keynotes and all. Next is, with respect to various tracks of the conference, are we going to have an award? For the best paper awards, are we planning or what it is there? So those things have to be clearly planned. What are the category of awards that we give? Then identifying potential people who can be keynote speakers. We have to contact them a priori, and of course, the profile of the speaker is very important, and we should have a right mix of industry as well as academics, and we have to plan. In this line, I've been very fortunate, like when you contact some of the R&D houses or companies, they will be willing to sponsor our conference in a small capacity, provided some of their leading members are given a chance to give a keynote address. So it's a win-win situation. Let's say one company A wanted to be a sponsor, and they will tell, okay, we want a keynote during banquet, we want a keynote during the first day. So depending upon the quality of the speaker, you can plan which one you have to go for. Every locally arranged conference, the biggest challenge for organizers is to get audience. So I'm not sure whether Professor Rajesh or Professor Santosh has to struggle in really much in order to get the minimum number of audience. So all those who are part of conferences will be struggling. Let's say if it is happened in a college, you will give break to one set of batch and ask them all to come to the auditorium. Being virtual nowadays, it is okay, still you can manage. Every time before keynote, we don't want empty chairs and all. So during my tenure as the organizing chair for some of the conferences, what I did was target nearby colleges and give an offer to the topper of each branch that you will get a free conference or registration. Always top students, whatever it is, with CGPA more than 8.5, we can actually write a letter. These things have to be planned a priori, not like seeing the number of students are very less. And we are basically calling it as fellowships. Fellowships are like free registrations for the meritorious candidates. So we accept their merit over the academic credentials what they have, and we will tell them that we will give you free registration provided you attend all the sessions. So two things will serve. We make sure that in every session we have minimum number of audience. So many tier 1 conferences, they will tell at the end of the day you may have to submit a few report, what was the interesting and all in order to catch. So thereby we make sure that at least few set of people are there. Similarly, you can give, so rather than running around and bringing arbitrary audience just to fill up the seats, there are a lot of people. Sometimes if you give an opportunity, let's say nearby companies or any firms or some teachers, let's say you call to neighboring colleges and tell, we will sponsor 2 teachers free. But that's a different kind of the registration that you may have to plan. Every conference should have a well articulated, precise, concise website, which is going to be updated regularly. So if you are going to have your submissions closing or some announcement of result that's happening on 31st of January, make sure the result is published on 30th of January. So what happens? Suppose if it is 31st, generally what happens? 31st means 11:59 p.m. 31st of January is also that. Right from morning onwards, organizers get mail. So keep all the dates. Suppose if there is any change in the date, do it a priori. Well managed website, and there should be a good website team. Have a good social media presence. Nowadays, conferences having handles in Twitter, handles in Facebook, LinkedIn, all will help in order to reach out. And you should have a good publicity team such that you can subscribe to mailing list and then reach out. So the call for the papers and other things should be going a priori early, and clear division of work between what are the things done by general chairs, what are the works done by the technical program chairs. A good conference will go very well if you are giving freedom to the technical program chair in planning. What are the keynotes? So you should not involve in like what our papers should be accepting. The organizers should leave freedom to the technical program chair. So many times what happens is when we approach people for technical program, what I'll tell no. So ultimately the local people will come and tell include this, include that, or reject that. So many people won't feel like comfortable in part of this. And conferences are socializing forums. So rather than shrinking tea break, we should plan the program such that tea break should be more. Generally, we feel no, when we wanted to shrink, we will tell no, next tea break, which was planned for 30 minutes because the keynote speaker talked for 1 hour. Let's say we'll shrink the tea break for 5 minutes. The purpose of conference, nobody really cares about what people talk inside. Conferences are socializing forums. You provide the right platform for socializing forum. And when it comes to the publication side, plan early itself. A publisher will accept only if there is a quality checking process, which I'll come to you in subsequent rounds. These are the points I would like to share. Thank you, Dr. Rajesh.
Thank you, Dr. John. It was a very good beginning, especially on the initial preparations and some of the, networking aspects also of getting connected, because that become very relevant because of the online mode that we are forced to. Anyway, that was a good beginning. Thank you very much for that. And for your information, fortunately, we got 50 plus consistent participants for the last 3 days. Maybe this is a conference on conference. That's why. I would like to now move on to Professor Binu to speak out on call for papers, call for tracks, publicity, application for funding, etc. Because these are some of the general points assigned to Professor Binu. He's an expert in, of course, like the website and the social media platforms as well. Basically, he is the backbone to do such things in Kochi, especially in Kochi. So over to Professor Binu to share his experience for the next 5 minutes.
Thank you, Rajesh sir, and also good evening to everyone. So I have a small presentation.
Okay, it's fine. And along with, if you could turn on your video, that will be good. You look very handsome today. Anyway.
Okay, is it visible to you, sir?
It is visible. It is visible.
Okay. So I'll be talking about call for tracks, call for papers, publicity, and funding agencies. So the idea of call for tracks, that is, or call for papers, is to get the participation, that is the maximum visibility of the conference. So before we go for any type of conference, the first thing is we have to conduct a SWOT analysis. You will be wondering what is the relevance of conducting such kind of an analysis for a conference, but it will give us the idea about the current status of our conference. Maybe the conference conducted by or organized by a particular engineering college or a particular institution, they feel that it is a flagship conference for them, but at the same time, we need to identify it is not at all publicly visible. So to identify the real reason behind the visibility of the conference, we have to improve the so-called spectrum of the entire conference structure. We have to conduct the SWOT analysis. We have to conduct the SWOT analysis. And after this SWOT analysis, you will be able to see that some of the key points, something like the positive sides of our conferences, negative sides. And based on that, what we are facing right now is something like the so-called less number of submissions or less number of visibility. So to overcome that kind of issues, we have to go for some options, and that's why we are going for the special tracks. That is the general trend that is happening in our context. Like why we are going for the special tracks. Already we have a number of tracks under that particular thing. So the idea is for our context, it is to improve the or increase the visibility of the conference. So I have an experience last year, something like a university in Delhi conducted a conference in their section, and they're finding they're getting submissions only from that domain, that is that from that area. But then they realized that why don't we add a kind of a special track from a southern region. So they contacted us, and we offered a special track, and immediately they got the response from the southern region also. So in that way, it will improve the visibility. And it is again a number of process involved in call for tracks. That is, initially you have to publish a kind of invitation for call for tracks, and along with the call for tracks, we have to specify the dates. And immediately after that, the call for tracks will be having a template, and based on the template, they will be updating information. And after updating the content, they will submit the proposal. So the idea of call for tracks means, as I mentioned, it is like to improve the visibility of the conference or improve the submission rate of the conference. So automatically we have some responsibility given to the track chairs. So some of the list of responsibility that is given to that track chair is listed here. Then in terms of the structure of the call for tracks, that is normally we have a traditional structure, that is a template for calling the tracks. That is, we must have a title of the track, and that track should be in line with our theme. Then we must have something like the track chairs. Along with that, we must have the reviewers, and if possible, we can include TPC, and also we can include some of the parameters that will improve the visibility. Then after submission, the proper track proposal, and a team, that is from the conference side, a team must evaluate the submission, and based on the parameters, we must list out some of the tracks, and that tracks can be included as part of the official conference theme. That is, we'll be having already prepared, already identified tracks are there. In addition to that, we'll be adding some special tracks, and that is the workflow of the special tracks. And in line with that, the second one is call for tracks. Call for papers is something like getting the submissions from the authors, especially those who are very much interested in that particular domain. And that is the key point, that is getting the number of submission is very, very important. That is, when we conducted, along with the John sir, we conducted a conference, I mean, before 2015, we could attain something like more than 500 submissions. And right now, if you look at the same conference, we'll be able to attain maximum 200 submissions. So that means somehow we have to improve the publicity aspects, and then only we'll be able to get good number of submissions. And we are aware that the call for paper having a submission procedure, and I think Varun sir will be dealing with that particular case. So anyway, so it has got a kind of a phased activity, something like we have got the paper submission, then paper review process, and after the review process, we'll be having a publication plan. So if you consider the call for papers, we must consider some of the key parameters before you are going for the call for papers. First thing is well-maintained website. Okay, well-maintained website and good brochure should be necessary for before going for the call for paper. Then you must draft a mail, and that should include most of the details that is relevant to the conference. And also you have to specifically mention about the submission guidelines, that includes templates, page limit, and the also you must include the contact details. That is immediately after sending the call for paper, you will be getting so many queries, and there should be proper contact detail information. And we must have a proper submission management system in things something like ADAS or some any similar management systems. Then here also it is very good to have a certain analysis, that is for call for papers. That is, call for paper is somehow related to publicity, and here also we need to consider that angle. That is, what is the necessity of going for the SWOT analysis for the call for paper? So first thing is, anyway, most of us are going for the Gmail services for sending the mails. And one concern is that Gmail having a limitation, something like 400 mails per day. So we are trying to reach the maximum number of participants. And if you are sending more number of mails, Gmail will allow us to send the mail, but automatically our mail IDs will be blacklisted. So it won't reach to the destination. So you can plan something like you will be sending only 400 mails or less than 400 mails in a day. That is one idea. Otherwise, you can go for the third-party mail services like Sendinblue or similar services. So they will allow us to send a more number of mails than Gmail supports. And at the same time, it will reach at the destination properly. Then second criteria, you can go for the digital marketing. And right now, a number of people, our students are very expert in digital marketing. So you can go for digital marketing, especially related to social media. And in our context, you may consider LinkedIn marketing. That's based on the LinkedIn marketing. We can build a network, build an ecosystem. And based on that network of ecosystem, we can reach a number of participants. That is one aspect of reaching or making the publicity. Then third point is how to get the international submissions. That is the next point. That is being called our conference as international. So the second thing is that how to get the international participants. That is one way to meet that requirement is getting the speakers from the international domain. That is one aspect. And the second one, how to meet the other side, submission, in terms of the publication side, how to get the international publications or international submissions. So I had an experience in 2011 when we started a conference, when we organized a conference and something like ICACC, and we were trying to have a more number of submissions from the international domain. So initially during the discussion, that is during the SWOT analysis, we identified that reaching to the Western side may not be a viable one. So it is not a fruitful activity, because Europe or Canada or USA, that means they won't accept our invitation. So what is going to be the next? So automatically we tried something like Latin American countries and Asia Pacific countries, and we tried a number of options like getting the mail IDs from the recent publications. And after getting the mail IDs, building the big database based on the countries and continental information. And then we started off communicating to the end side. So that was a fruitful activity. And during that conference, we could achieve nearly 25 external registration, external physical participation from different countries like Latin America. Then we had participations from somewhere from the Asian and Pacific countries. So that is one way of getting the international submission. Then the another concern associated with publicity means once you start a conference for the first time, you'll be doing everything. That is, you'll be building your emails database, you will be building your contact information, everything. But when you organize the second edition of the same conference, anyway, you will be going for the previous set of mail IDs. So I think that is not a fruitful activity, because most of the cases, the paper submissions are coming from student side, and those students will be actively involved in research activity right now. So it won't be going to be a fruitful activity. So it is better to build mail IDs at regular intervals, so that we will be always getting good number of participations, good number of submissions from the international domain. So using this mechanism, we'll be able to get much number of submissions from the international participations. Then next, we may go for the funding agencies. Funding agencies for getting funding for, especially for private engineering colleges or self-financing engineering colleges, it's very tough. But AICTE is supporting us. We'll be getting maximum 4 lakhs. But if you consider the budget proposed by Biju sir last day, it is nearly 35 lakhs, but 35 lakhs for us, private engineering colleges, it's not going to work out. So we have to go for fundings from government agencies. You can go for the AICTE, UGC, DST, But most of the cases, AICTE is will be supporting us for conference organization. Then Kerala government having a council that using that council will be getting minimal amount for getting the funds. Then Navaratna companies like ONGC and similar companies will certainly help us, but there is a limitation. That is maximum they will be able to support 2 to 3 lakhs for a particular conference. Then the next best option is multinational companies. Multinational companies like John sir mentioned, that is getting a speaker is very expensive, especially getting a speaker for a physical event is very expensive. We have to bear the entire travel cost. We have to identify a fund for honorarium, etc., honorarium, travel, accommodation, etc. So if possible, we may try, or the organizers may try to get the support from a multinational company, so that the entire activity, entire cost related to the speaker can be done with the help of an MNC. So that is one side. And we can also try out, if at least from the Kerala region, we have a number of research institutions like DRDO is supporting us, and ISRA is also supporting us. So we can go for an independent, you can propose some conference request or supporting request to all these institutions in different manner. So depending on the conditions, depending on the situation, they will be able to support. And from my experience, always give the funding request before February, March. That is, March is going to be the end of the financial year. So just before March, if you submit the proposal, they will be in a hurry to meet the expenses. So in that time, there is a possibility of in getting the funds in a positive way. That is in terms of the funding. So that's all from my side. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Binu. You have covered it very attractively, because everything starting from sending the mail and updating the database on email, etc. That was a very relevant point, because every year new researchers should be added to that list. Sometimes we may not get the papers from the same authors consecutively for years. So that was an amazingly good point. And on funding also, the coverage was generally good. And what I would like to add as a personal experience also, we can have partial funding from many agencies for a single program. I do remember I got funding for traveling to China from DST and to register for the same conference from AICTE. So in 2009, I do remember. So like that was attending the conference, but for organizing also partial funding from various organizations are possible. Only thing is that across each organization, when we submit, we may say that I have applied or I got this much from the other organization. That clarity should be there. So with this introduction from Professor Binu, I would like to move on to Dr. Varun, who is personally a very famous and I mean reputed author of research papers in good numbers, as well as I said, reviewer and the editor for more than 8 international journals on what should be the way of managing the review process, management of the review process, and paper selection and scheduling kind of activities associated with the IEEE type serious conference. So can you please open up on especially to mentor, the assist the authors who are sitting in this conference? Majority of them are either doing research or they're planning to do their own conferences. So can you mentor on the paper selection process, review, editing? Okay, your role as an editor may help you to put in more light in these areas. Over to Dr. Varun.
Thank you, Rajesh sir, for the kind invitation to this opportunity in this conference and speaking on the review management. So I would like to share next 5 to 10 minutes my remarks on. Sir, is my sound audible to you?
Yes, very much.
Yeah, thank you. So I would like to put some remarks on the review and scheduling and paper acceptance areas. So I believe this is one of the most important part of the conference of managing the reviews and managing the acceptance. So I have just broken down into 10 different points, starting from the submission to the review and to the acceptance. So let me discuss point by point and share my experience. And I think that would be of more benefit rather than talking more of the theory part. So first, as John sir has already discussed, the most important part is setting the committee. So whenever any conference, the quality of conference definitely depends upon the work of the committee. And the first important thing is to have a very good technical program committee and have specific head for the particular tracks. For example, if a conference is having 8 tracks, make sure that each person who is the expert in that area of interest is assigned the head of the track, and there's a subcommittee for each track who will be managing the review process. Because if you don't distribute the work based on their areas of expertise of interest, then there will be a lot of confusions. But if you have clearly defined the committee and clearly assigned the tracks to a different committee and a strong committee is formed, then definitely the process would be very easy. And if possible, it is not easy to bring in the foreigners or the outside people to the track committees, because most of them would give their names but won't be active in the review process. But bring in your friends' connections from the top institutes like IITs or the foreign universities who can head the review committee, at least head the review committee, review few papers, give their expert opinions. And I believe most of the work review process would be done by the internal faculty and the friends of the conference organizers working in the different national and international institutes. So first important point is setting up the committee, bringing a clarity towards how the review process has to be taken. Second important point is deciding on the conference management system. That is, whether normally, if you look at 10 years back, we used to have the email facility. We used to get all the submissions by creating an email, like for example, like icoeca.com. So we used to create an email and get the submissions. If you look now also, many conferences happening in India take the submissions through email. But I would definitely suggest to go for a conference management systems like IDAS or EasyChair, which will help us reduce a lot of tasks. Also, which will help us to manage the submissions and reviews in a much more structured manner. So go for IDAS or EasyChair or any other conference management system you find suitable for your conference, based on the size of your conference, based on how you plan the conference, select the conference management system. So that is the second point I would like to mention here. Third one is managing the submissions. Once the conference management system is approved, we will be uploading the call for papers to the management system, and we can and as Binu sir has already discussed regarding the call for papers, the call for papers will be sent to all the national and international researchers through the publicity team. Now we normally used to start getting the submissions. So submissions normally comes to the EasyChair. The technical tracks will have the access to see the submissions. So that is how if the submissions have been clearly organized into different tracks, the submissions that is normally coming to the EasyChair will also get organized automatically into the different tracks. So each track can be managed by the person who is heading the track. So that is the third point I would like to discuss. And fourth thing, once the submissions have arrived, or once submissions is coming to the conference management system of our account, next important thing is adding reviewers. So it's being as an experience of being an editor, it is very tough to get expert reviewers to give detailed comments to all the papers within a frame of time. As we all know that reviewing is a voluntary work and editing is also voluntary work. That is, it depends upon the interest of the person to review the papers, or it depends upon the person to edit the paper. So being a voluntary work, we cannot expect the reviewers to review the papers with detailed comments within a particular amount of time. So finding the right reviewer database is a very important thing, and adding that reviewer database to our conference is one of the very, very, very important aspects of any conference. And it is very important that we find out experts in each area of track. And to be very honest, we need not have three experts assigned to a paper. Instead of that, we can have 2 technical experts and 1 non-technical experts who is maybe good in language or proofreading of paper can also be assigned to each paper. So at least try to get three reviews for each paper. And it is not easy to get 3 reviews. That is, even if we assign a paper to 10 reviewers, we cannot expect at least 3 of the people to accept the reviews. So to be honest, even in IEEE transactions and all the journals, they mandate that 3 expert reviews is required to make a decision on any paper. So adding a reviewer database is very important. That is the 4th point I would like to stress here. Next, after adding the review database, the submissions have already started to come. One important thing is desk rejecting. Next important aspect is saving the reviewers and desk rejecting. That is, you can desk reject based on the plagiarism amount. That is, if you similarity index. That is, if you have decided that 30% is normally the IEEE conference ratio of similarity index that is being given, 30% of similarity index. So if any paper goes above 30% similarity index, as a TPC chair, you can give, as a conference organizer, you can give the freedom for the TPC chair to desk reject the papers by mentioning that your paper has high level of similarity. So the advantage here is that the reviewers' time is saved. That is, we are not assigning those to reviewers. The TPC chair can write the general comments, that is, the similarity index is high, and can reject the papers. But if you are desk rejecting at the initial phase based on the quality, it is important for the TPC chair to write detailed comments why the paper is being rejected at the initial stage without review. That is, for example, some paper has a very poor language, or some paper has no novelty at all. Something that the TPC reviewer finds out the initial stage, he can do a desk rejection at the initial stage without sending the paper to a review. So that by that time we can save the time of the authors. Also, we can save the time of the reviewers also. So, and how much level of similarity index needs to be kept, that depends upon the organizers. And how much level of self-plagiarism can be accepted also is very important, and that can be decided based on the organizing committee of the conference. So that is my 5th point. 6th point is, after that, once the paper passes the screening, we can assign the paper to reviewers. As I mentioned earlier, try to get at least 3 reviewers accepting the paper to review. So please send the paper to more than 3 reviewers, and try to follow up with the reviewers so that at least we are getting 3 reviewers. That is the another important point. Next important point is, as I told you, get minimum 3 reviews, and it can be 2 technical review and 2 pure technical reviews and 1 non-technical reviews. That depends upon the conference organizing committee. So 8th point I would like to mention is that regular follow-up. We all move in tight time constraints. That is, normally sometimes the paper comes, the deadline get extended, the submission deadlines get extended towards the conference dates. So we have at least 3 or 4 weeks of time to get reviews. In those cases, I'm definitely sure the people who have organized the conferences would have faced this issue in many times. That is, we have 3 or 4 weeks to make a decision, and we are not having the proper reviewers, or maybe adequate number of reviewers. So in those cases, have your expert members of your faculty or your connections get review, and follow up with them regularly. Follow up with the reviewers. Send reminders. One of the important aspect of an editor or a technical program committee member is to send proper reminders. Like, for example, there are 10 days remaining for your review. Please submit your review, or maybe your review is already overdue. We are looking forward to your review to make a decision on this paper. We will be extremely obliged if you can submit your detailed review as soon as possible. This we need to provide these feedback to the reviewer, such that the reviewer is reminded of the review and submits the review. So that is the 8th important point I would like to make. And the 9th one is, once the reviews are being submitted, the accept or reject decision, whether that is how to, for example, 2 reviewers has given an minor revision and 1 reviewer has given an reject decision. So that is, it is up to the technical program chair. See, one thing I would like to mention here is the reviewers, the paper we are sending to reviewers is for expert comments, but the decision has to be made by the TPC committee and the TPC chair, whether the paper has to be accepted or rejected. sometimes the paper there might be 2 minor revisions and 1 rejection decision. But if the TPC chair feels that the paper has merit, he can write his own comments. And actually, I feel if needed, he can send to a 4 reviewer, or maybe he can also accept the paper based on its merit. So that is the 9th point, very important thing, acceptance and rejection. And one more important thing, this depends upon the acceptance ratio that is being fixed for your conference. Normally, we have seen some good conferences giving 30% to 35% of acceptance ratio. It goes till 50% of acceptance ratio for some conferences. But if you look at the good conferences like, let's say, Infocom or maybe the Globecom, we can see 10% or 12% or very less acceptance rates in those tier 1 A-star conferences. So based on this, fix the acceptance rates and make the decision on acceptance or rejection. And finally, the 10th point I would like to mention here is that providing the review comments to the authors and following up with the authors to make sure that they incorporate the review comments. One of the major challenge compared to journals, journals normally make sure that the review comments has been incorporated. But one of the major challenges with the conferences is that once the review comments has been sent to the authors, then the authors directly come for the conferences. So how to make sure the authors have incorporated the review comments is a very important task. So it goes to the technical committee to make sure that they have incorporated the major revision or the minor revision that has been suggested by the reviewers, and they are submitting the good quality manuscript, because even after submission, the IEEE would be scanning through the papers before they publish in the IEEE Explorer. So if some paper has been given a major revision, it is very important for the panel to check whether the paper has undergone the revision that is being mentioned by the reviewers. So I just wanted to make this quick 10 points regarding the review, submission, management, and acceptance. I hope I have done justice to the task given by Rajesh sir, and I would be very happy to take all the questions at the end of the program. Thank you.
Anyway, your 10-point agenda looks pretty convincing, as well as, of course, the credibility of both the reviewers, authors, and everybody participating and organizing the conference is very important. So far through the 3 panel members, we have talked about preparations, conducting, and paper review processes, etc. So the story is not getting finished with that. The post-conference activities are also very, very important, because I have seen in many conferences after the event, participants are complaining that they haven't got the certificates in time, the proceedings was not received, it is received without the ISBN number or the credentials of the publication, etc., etc. So the post-conference activity, because as Dr. John said, it is not just a one-day event or a 2-day event. It's a long-term networking that we are creating through a conference. So therefore, keeping the decent relationship with the organizers and the authors, reviewers, everybody involved, that great community is important. So I invite Dr. Rakesh to probably talk about the post-conference proceeding, compilation, submission, and I would like to further say the post-conference life of that community. Over to Dr. Rakesh.
Yeah, thank you, IEEE Kochi subsection, as well as Dr. M.V. Rajesh sir for inviting me for this particular session. And I'm very happy to be part of this particular workshop. So regarding, actually, as Rajesh sir rightly pointed out, the story is not yet over. The story is just starting. The real story is now, okay? Because I had the 2 experiences of conducting similar kind of conferences in 2020 as well as in 2021. In 2020, like I had the conference was in collaboration with Springer. Springer was a publisher there. And now we are moving with IEEE Kerala section. Okay, they given us the approval for conducting the conference. So the conference has just now over. Dr. Rajesh M.V. sir was one of the session chairs for one of the sessions of our conference. Okay, so talking about the conference proceedings. So first of all, we talk about how to publish these proceedings with ISBN number or with the approval of this IEEE. Okay, so first we need to concentrate on 2 things. The first thing is like IEEE conference publication form. Okay, we need to get the approval from IEEE to submit our conference papers to the IEEE Conference Publication Program, that is known as CPP, IEEE Conference Publication Program. And then after that, the papers could be included in this IEEE Explore. So first we need to get approval from IEEE by submitting a form known as IEEE Conference Publication Form. Okay, so this is like a requisition letter submitting to IEEE so that the papers could be included in IEEE Explore, so that all the papers will be put into this IEEE Conference Publication Program also. Okay, to allow, so in order to get enough time for the full approval process, this form must be submitted at least like 12 months before the conference. Okay, you need to submit this IEEE Conference Publication Form at least 12 months before the conference. So upon review and approval from IEEE, they will be sending you a letter known as Letter of Acquisition. It is LOA. Okay, LOA after receiving your conference publication form. Okay, that LOA will be consisting of several fields like submitting, like, so I will tell you about what are the fields there in the IEEE conference publication form. First, you will be getting like you can check whether there is a provision for submitting a conference publication form. Then you can check whether the conference has been, the status of your submitted conference publication form. And the third one is the PDF Express, which is very important. So in order to get compliance with the format specified by IEEE, all the papers submitted to IEEE should go through certain AI tool known as IEEE PDF Express. Okay, so it will be aligning the margins, and if there is any problem with the alignment associated with the paper, it will be get intimated. So that's very important, IEEE PDF Express. So for getting ISBN number, first you need to submit the IEEE conference publication form, which is a request submitted to IEEE for getting it indexed in IEEE Explore Digital Library. Okay, then the LOA, what is this LOA means? LOA means the letter of acquisition. Okay, letter of acquisition, which is an agreement between the conference organizers and with the IEEE. Okay, so the LOA will be consisting of several things like conference publication title will be there. Okay, the catalog numbers, the copyright information, the conference paper templates, link and all, then which will be provided in both MS Word as well as in LaTeX format. Then the several list of conference publication materials to be submitted to IEEE once the conference has been over. And it also contains the most important thing known as ISBN number. Okay, so when you get approved this particular LOA, you need to note it down. What is the ISBN number associated with your conference? Okay, otherwise you want to save that LOA to somewhere in your local drive. Otherwise, you need to request again to the IEEE authority for asking this LOA form again, but they will be sending you once you have missed that LOA, no issues in that. But once the LOA has been approved by IEEE, you need to log into that LOA portal, then download that form and save it in your local drive. So this ISBN number is to be included in all the what you call accepted papers. Okay, so please note that this LOA does not guarantee that your conference technical papers will be published in IEEE Explore. Okay, because you know that, as Dr. Michael Long already told, there is an internal quality assurance committee is available. So they will be checking around 20% of the total papers. So sometimes if they feel that the papers is not up to the mark, there is a possible way of rejecting the entire conference. So this LOA is just like an agreement between this the conference organizer with IEEE, but it doesn't guarantee anything like all the papers submitted to IEEE will be indexed in IEEE Explore. So IEEE can withhold the publication of a conference proceedings that do not meet the IEEE quality standards. Okay, then what are the major steps and the recommended structure for quality proceedings? Okay, we need to know about that. What are the major steps as well as the recommended structure for quality proceedings? So major steps for this quality proceedings, it actually starts with the quality of peer review. Okay, it actually starts with the quality of peer review as well as the technical program development. This is TPC and all. So As you know that these review process plays a crucial part in quality checking of all the papers which has been submitted to any kind of conference. So you will be having a TPC panel members, which many of them will be from industry side or some from academic side and all. And then the technical review process will begin. So you need to identify what type of review is being performed, like whether are you following an open review, or are you following a blind review, or are you following a double blind review process. So all these review process, you have to be check it out first in the initial stage itself, after the time of conference planning itself. Then how many reviewers will review each paper? Because at the time of submission, there is something like IEEE need to get at least 3 reviewers per paper. Okay, like one paper has to be reviewed by at least 3 reviewers. So like it could be reviewer from industry, from research organization, it could be from academic side, or any kind of research organization too. But you have to specify the reviewer name, the organization he belongs to, his email ID, and everything. So you cannot fool these kind of things. So you need to do in the actual sense. You need to contact the reviewer, get his affiliations and all, his 1 or 2 review reports also to be maintained, because at the time of when, if the IEEE feels that there is some misconduct happened during the time the conference proceedings and all, they'll be asking you for the IEEE the paper review comments and all. So you have to keep some sample review comments also. You should follow these things, like 3 review per paper. Okay, 3 review paper, and the reviewers could be from industries, from research organization, or could be from academics. Then comes the copyright compliance. Then one more thing is there. This is like a targeted acceptance of the papers, as many of the panelists already told about the acceptance. It could be like up to 50%. It will be good, something like that. So as per my experience, the Access 21 was one of those conferences hosted by Adi Shankara Institute of Engineering Technology, Kaladi. Again, with the IEEE and the AICT, we got some fund for conducting that conference. So in that, the acceptance rate was closely to 30%. Okay, 30%. So we received around some 225 papers, and we selected only around some 62 or 63. So the target, the acceptance rate was around 30%. So you need to check out, is there any research element available in that paper? You should not select like, okay, this fellow is very much known to me. Okay, so that we can include those kind of papers to my conference. Sometimes our fellow mates who are working in nearby colleges will be asking us, okay, Rakesh, could you please include my paper also? This is my, actually I am doing a PhD, so I don't have any IEEE conference, because we cannot do such kind of things in IEEE, but because you yourself, the conference chair as well as the publication chair, some 3 to 4 members will be there at the end of the conference. All others will be completing everything. The presentation will be over, the chairing sessions will be over, all those things will be over, but the ultimate task will be on the shoulders of all the conference organizers as well as the publication chair. Okay, so we cannot compromise on those kind of things. Like sometimes our friend will be asking for that. There are situations, these are real situations. Actually, I also had such situations for this conference, and some of them are my enemies too right now, because I couldn't include those kind of papers in because many of my friends who did a PhD along with me in Coimbatore and all, they asked me for publishing my other papers in this conference, but unfortunately I couldn't because of some less quality and so. So these kind of things you have to ensure. Then coming into electronic copyright. So all the IEEE needs electronic copyright from all individual papers, individual submissions. Okay, one accepted papers, each accepted paper should have a copyright which is to be transferred to IEEE. So all authors of accepted papers complete this copyright transfer prior to submission of your final content to IEEE. Okay, so if your conference is, sometimes some of the conference organizers will not be publishing 100% of papers to IEEE Digital Library. Sometimes some different publisher will be there. So there is no problem in that. But if you are going to give your papers to IEEE Explore Digital Library, then you want to get the electronic copyright from almost all the accepted papers. Okay, so then something called as a packing list checker tool is there. So at the end of the conference, you want to use that tool, packing list checker tool. This tool will validate the packing list of all the submissions that we are giving into IEEE. The packing list checker should be like, it has to be used anytime if you are making a change in the packing list. There is a packing list available. Okay, so you have to follow that packing list. So if there is any change happen in the packing list, you want to again run this packing list checker tool. So you want to upload all those PDFs generated after getting the IEEE PDF Express and all. You will be uploading all those papers to this packing list checker tool, and this checker tool will be evaluating. Okay, sometimes some papers the organizers can take the decision that if some of the paper is not presented in a conference venue, those papers will not be if you want, you cannot, you do not want to include those papers in this IEEE Digital Library. So there is a separate option for that. No-show something, I don't remember the exact name for that. Some no-show kind of thing is there. So you have to do that, no-show, so that those papers who are not presented in a conference venue is not included. This is upon the discretion of the conference organizer. Okay, so this is a final tool, that is packing list checker tool. So these things you have to remember. First thing is submitting the IEEE conference publication form. Okay, then getting the LOA, that is letter of acquisition. Then letter of acquisition contains the most critical thing, that is the ISBN number. Okay, please note it down, the ISBN number that is essential for publishing each and every paper to the IEEE Digital Library Explore. Okay, and you know that LOA does not give you any guarantee that all the papers presented or given to that conference will be published in this IEEE Digital Library. Then you have to care about the technical review process in order to improve the quality of the conference. Go for this double blind kind of reviews if possible, and you have to accommodate. If actually in my experience, I have about around 200 different reviewers for my conference, 200 reviewers. So how to find these reviewers? Normally, I spend some 2 to 3 hours in LinkedIn. And my good friend, Dr. Varun, also helped me a lot for finding a lot of reviewers from abroad. Because we need to get a good, persons from different organizations of repute, who is having some international exposure to, and who is having a good publication record. So reviewers, you have to find it out. You have to spend a lot of time in LinkedIn or so, and make connections with who possible by looking at their profiles and all, and make them in TPC. And while you are giving those forms, that review committee form, that paper review form, make it very short. Like these fellows may not have enough time to write long essays and all for each and every paper. So you have to, you can follow that IEEE, that 10-con format. I have followed that. IEEE 10-con format is very good. They have given the importance of the relevance of that paper, whether the reviewer has an expertise on that particular area. So many questions are there. So you can just, so the reviewer can just click on that radio buttons, and at last they can write some 2 to 3 lines about the paper. It would be good. Otherwise, these reviewers may not have enough time for reviewing each and every. They cannot write huge lines for each and every paper. So you need to ensure that, and you need to look up on the acceptance rate and all. And then final thing is the copyright. The copyright is important, and the packing list preparation, that is along with the packing list checker tool. Okay, packing list checker tool. So that's all from my side. This is what I have experienced in the last conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rakesh. Throughout the POCO workshop, it was a very smooth journey, starting from the pre-conference workshop to planning, organization, and finally the post-conference activities. Dr. Santosh, we are exactly at 8:30 plus. So what we may do, we may directly try to get some questions now itself, because many of the previously given questions have almost covered in their explanations.
Yeah.
So now I think to make it somewhat interactive, can we accept some first come basis, some questions from the listeners, because they want to ask a genuine question that can be addressed. And I request the panel members to be very, conscious about the time, such that it will be kind of a jam, kind of around, just a minute kind of around while you answer. So I request people to listeners to type in the questions in the chat box. Meanwhile, Dr. John, can you connect the IEEE membership and conference publication, whether they are somehow connected? It was a previous question posted to you, I think.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Rajesh. I understand the time constraints. One of the question was whether the organizers need to be IEEE member or not. So generally, when you apply to IEEE, one of the concerns that they will look into, like if the organizer itself is not an IEEE member, it won't be looking that much appealing. See, if you are conducting a regular conference across the years, let's say you are conducting the nth conference under the same banner and organizers will keep on changing, it is kind of fine. But they won't even ask whether what is your IEEE number, but it would be always good to like take part of. So I encourage every one of you to take the membership of the professional societies. That is always a value adding experience, and having unlimited boundless connectivity to all these members. Okay, that is what my comment on.
Yeah. Binu, your 1 minute question is, what's the minimum condition for get an IEEE association, either technical or otherwise also? So what's your experience on that?
So in terms of conducting conferences, IEEE conducts its own flagship conferences, and it is also permitting us to support something like they are extending the support as a co-sponsor, and also they are extending conferences in terms of technical co-sponsorship or technical associations. So if something like if from an engineering college aspects, like self-financing engineering college aspects, if you are looking for an association with the IEEE, the first thing is that you have to submit an application to the nearest organization unit, IEEE organization unit. That is, IEEE organization unit means it could be region, IEEE region, otherwise section, subsection, or otherwise society. So you must submit your application to the nearest region which you are looking for, and from that, depending on the decision from that region, you will be able to get the so-called support, that is maybe co-sponsorship, otherwise technical assistance, etc.
Thank you, Binu. Dr. Varun, how to approach a journal? Of course, as an outcome of a conference, sometimes some of, if not all of them, the selected papers can get into a journal. So how to approach a standard journal? So what's your experience in that?
Yeah, I have only 1 minute to answer this, sir.
I suppose so.
Yeah. So this question I received from a lot of people who have contacted, how to approach for the papers to be published in an extended in an SCI index journal or any high impact factor journal. So the basic thing we should start is to make some connections, and once the conference theme is decided, conference everything is set, we need to write an official invitation to the editor-in-chief of the journal, that informing our interest in the journal, and also requesting whether some of the extended papers, that is at least 50% or more extended papers, can be invited to this journal. So normally the EICs might allow you to include them in the special issues of the different journals. So we can propose a special issue also. So regarding this, we can actually propose a special issue with a group of editors from experts in different countries and different universities, and align that special issue along with our conference, and then link this special issue to a particular journal within the scope of the conference. That is a good point where we can associate a conference with a top journal, and also make sure that some of the excellent papers that is being submitted after the conference is being extended at least 50% with new content, is being invited to this journal and is published in the journal. such that the conference get an association with the particular journal also.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. That's an important point. That special edition, it's really was noticeable. Dr. Rakesh, many people have come into confusion on the publication because of advancement in technology, whether we want a printed copy every time or an online publication is sufficient, whether it is valid, especially when it is submitted to a university for fulfillment of the research, PhD awarding, etc. So what is your final points on the mode of publication or validity kind of?
Yes, sir. Actually, like as Varun sir already told, majority of conferences now they are doing like if I'm organizing some conference, I will be contacting some other special issue journals for connecting our conference to, so that extended papers of the paper will be published in those kind of journals. So nowadays, as you asked, like printed publication is not at all necessary, because nowadays when we all like, we do maintain that Google Scholars kind of thing. So, but the online availability is very important. Whenever we are submitting, we are approaching for some postdoctoral experience or something, because I had an experience when I submit my CV for one of the postdoctoral positions at Tsukuba University, Japan. One of my paper was not available in Google's in the internet domain, because that particular paper was being published in one of the Elsevier conferences conducted by TKM Kollam during 2014. But unfortunately, that particular link was expired. So at the time when the professor visa was issued by the university, they again go and check whether this person is having almost all the papers available in online. So they look into my Google Scholar profile and to see that one of the paper is not available. So they said like, okay, I'm doing some kind of misconduct, like yeah, that was an experience to me during 2018. So the thing is, like all the papers, if you are publishing in some kind of journal, should be available in online, and try to publish your papers in very reputed conferences. Okay, so do not publish in some XYZ conference or something. Please publish it in a very reputed conference so that your profile will also get some weightage. Because nowadays the Google Scholar, the I-10 index, the H index all matters. Right, whenever we are applying for some associate professor position or professor position, even self-financing colleges are looking at that. What is your H index? Because everyone, even the management, if they don't have any experience in engineering side, they also need this kind of terminologies, like what is H index, what is I-10 index, and all. So try to publish some papers in some good reputed conferences, so that it could be available in an online internet domain.
Thank you, Dr. Rakesh. So we are almost running out of time. But anyway, it's a time for an open forum. I request any of the participants, if they have a genuine question to any of the panelists or a common question, please turn on your mic and ask it directly. We will save the time. Please do it very immediately. So I'm happy to see that we have half century plus participants even now. That is the success of the workshop. Open to the participants if anybody want to talk or add a point, again within 1 minute of time or so. So I assume either people are very hungry or all their hungers are finished with your well-crafted explanations. Either way, we are happy to see that it was a grand success. And of course, who are planning to organize the conference have got some ideas. And participants, it is, as we said earlier also, the journey is beginning again. So we will keep this networking so that whenever you organize the conferences, you can readily come in contact with IEEE Kochi subsection, and Dr. Santosh has consented to share every content of this deliberations with you, including video. That's what we have decided in the committee. So we will continue that journey towards quality, because IEEE basically believe in quality improvement and advancing technology for humanity, that also with quality. So that is the point. So I would, with the permission of the chair, can therefore move to conclude this. I'm not going for a very long vote of thanks. Rather, would like to, in a single sentence, would like to thank Dr. John, Dr. Varun, Dr. Rakesh, and Professor Binu for serving as the panelist of this POCO conference, POCO workshop, and would like to very sincerely thank Dr. Santosh for taking a leadership role in Kochi subsection in organizing and pitching the funding from IEEE. As a token of our appreciation, we will present a virtual memento. I think Dr. Tripti will be assisting me in this. I request the panelists to receive it. Dr. John, thank you very much for joining us. Yes, Tripti, next. Thank you, Dr. Rakesh, for joining IEEE Kochi subsection.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Varun. You're part of the
Sir. Thank
family
you very
only,
much.
but thank you.
Thank you very much.
Similarly, thanks a lot to Professor Binu
Yes.
for sharing your experiences.
Thank you very much.
And I think I will probably request Dr. Santosh to give 1 or 2 sentence concluding remarks of the POCO workshop over to the chairman, IEEE Kochi subsection.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. First of all, thanks to the panelists. It was a very dynamic, though the time was very short, but within short period, almost all the required things were covered. So thanks in one word to all members. Thank you. We look forward for future association with you. And thank you, Rajesh, for a dynamic panel discussion for conducting that. Thank you, Tripti, for assisting us and leading to welcoming and giving profiles of all the speakers. Thank you, Tripti. And one and all, from the participants, you are the working force for this program. Basically, we had a lot of questions related to how to conduct IEEE conferences in their organization. We hope that we covered almost all the required things. And as promised, all the proceedings of this workshop will be available to your inbox. We'll be sharing in a couple of days. And thanks for giving a feedback, a good feedback to this program. So thank you once again, and good night. Have a nice day and safe day. Thank you.